Hey, what's up? It's Valar. Hope everybody's doing awesome. Thanks so much, as always, for all the support. Some of it's really been actually pretty cool. So I started a new clan myself, this High Elven Society. I want to give a big shout out to Kobe86J Raid. That's his YouTube channel. So Kobe86J, he's actually helped me out a lot with this, and we started the clan only on Friday. Unlocked Nightmare, not unlocked, killed Nightmare day one. Actually, we started at Saturday. Excuse me, started at Saturday. Killed Nightmare day one. We're working on Ultra Nightmare right now. We've only got like 9 guys actually hitting Ultra Nightmare, but we're actually 10, I think. But we're actually down to about 36%, and we should actually be able to down it. So if you're interested in joining, I want the clan to be able to take Nightmare and Ultra Nightmare down daily, but I need to fill it up with as many Ultra Nightmare hitters as I possibly can. Ideally, I would like 17 Ultra Nightmare hitters because that means we can all max chest if we keep the damage in line. Now, that's not going to matter coming toward the end of this week because patch 1.15 should be here this week. I don't know that for sure, but I would guess that it would be based on the stuff that we've heard from the content creator chat and the fact that they already gave us the patch notes and we all did all that stuff with you guys. So usually it's the following week that gets released. I would probably say that it's going to happen Tuesday because they just had this Banner Lord event. So this Banner Lord summoning draft event. Well, they're going to have something else tomorrow. That's another 10x, but it's actually 10x power couples, and you can pull like Xavia, Bellinor, Cupidus, Venus, Skull Crown Sinesha, and I honestly forgot who the other one is, but whatever. It's hard to recommend saying go for those, but I've had a lot of people tell me they've actually had great luck with them. I have not, and I haven't really tried either. However, I'm very tempted in this one only because I have Cupidus. I actually have 2 copies of Cupidus, and I would like to get Venus. So Venus is amazing. Like, she's basically like Dracomorph, but it even has a HP burn. She has this poison on her A1 that's a 2-hitter, and then she has this AoE decreased defense and weaken that's on a 3-turn cooldown without even being booked. You get it to 100% when it's booked. But then another AoE that places an HP burn that is on a 4-turn cooldown. And then if you have Cupidus, she removes all the buffs from all enemies and a 50% chance of granting an extra turn. And then she has the universal HP in all battles by 33%. She is like my top. Like, I feel like Venus, Valkyrie, Martyr, all the big top dogs that I don't actually have the top of the top. I guess Roshkard I'd kind of do for Clan Boss and Vizier would be my best pulls by far. But with having Cupidus, he's got this other thing too that attacks inflict 25% more damage to targets under debuffs. It would actually be interesting to try Cupidus and Venus even in an Ultra Nightmare Clan Boss team if I had them both. Now he places HP burn too, but Cupidus does hit very hard even without Venus. So it'll be interesting to see how much harder he hits with Venus. He's very good. He's not like so god tier or anything like that, but he's just a solid good legendary. I actually like Cupidus. He's one of the first legendaries I actually got. I now have 2 of him though. So anyway, that's that. And then another part to update you on before I get into just looking at my 10 favorite epics here is actually me and Kobe are doing something as well. So he does this a lot more, but he's into doing account takeovers. I have not been into doing account takeovers. They take a lot of time to do, and it's hard when you have a full-time job, 3 kids, and a family, all that stuff, right? However, I'm working with him to do account takeovers. You're going to have to actually get with me or him. I'm going to link his Discord and his channel in the description below too. But we are both going to work together to do account takeovers. So that's important to know. Now, there's going to be some form of like a negotiation involved in that. So you have to actually contact us and then we will work it out. Typically, the process is going to work like we have a Discord voice chat or something. Talk about looking at your account, what we can possibly do for you, what you need. It's not going to be like a miracle worker. You may need to farm gear and stuff too. So that is actually going to be on the table though. So I think it's something that I could help with, and there's that. So the other thing too, make sure though, hit me up on Discord and we'd love to have you if you do have the Ultra Nightmare damage. All I'm looking for is if you can 4-key Ultra Nightmare right now. You don't need to be, 1 king or 2 king or anything like that. 4-key Ultra Nightmare is good. If you can 2-key Nightmare as well, I would like to talk to you. So anyway, all that being said, that was a lot of an update. But the other thing I wanted to do was actually just look at some cool stuff, which is actually the epics. So I did an epic on did a video on trash epics the other day. This video is actually going to look at who I think are my top favorite epics. And the way we're going to do it is we're just going to kind of go through and look at each index. Whatever the hell they are, each faction. Each faction in the index, and say which ones I think are the best. This is going to help you out if you're newer and everything too. So there are other uses for other ones too, but I'm pointing out the ones that are like the best that you would get. So don't take this as like some gospel or anything like that. This is just my opinion. So out of the Banner Lords, unfortunately, I don't think there's too many that are great. These two guys did get a buff, so they're kind of interesting. Seneschal and Oathbound, and Knight Errant can hit like a truck. However, they're kind of not top tier, I would feel like. But however, I do believe Stag Knight is. Stag Knight, this guy was the best part of the Battle Pass. He's got a 2-hitter that does decreased speed. He has AoE, decreased defense, and decreased attack on a 3-turn cooldown that you can book up to a 95% chance to land these. That's amazing. That's great. And then he does increased accuracy if an ally tries to place a debuff and it gets resisted. So he's actually really, really cool. I would actually agree with these ratings. You can pretty much use him anywhere. I did a guide on him too, so go check it out. Stag Knight's actually one of my favorite heroes, one of my favorite epics in the game. So they did a really good job in designing Stag Knight. And he does hit pretty hard too, so that's great. The next one, High Elves, actually has quite a few cool epics in here. Thin Asshole, no, I'm just kidding. Thin Asshole is actually really good, but I'm only going to focus on the top 2 here, which we all know and love. Royal Guard. People try to chase getting him all the time. When you're at, doing crazy, silly stuff like me, you wind up having 4 Royal Guards, even though you don't need them. But or Ali plays, I think he has like a baseball team of Royal Guards, about 9 of them or something. So this one, the decreased defense at his A1, but this is his big ability, an AoE that slams everyone down based off enemy max HP. And this does actually provide some value to it, some turn meter manipulation and decreased speed, and then also increase ally attack in dungeons by 35%. He's just one of the best all-around epics in the game that you can pretty much use anywhere. Like really, you can use him anywhere, except for maybe Arena would be, and the ratings on here are correct. I wouldn't necessarily use him in the Arena. However, dungeon-wise, he's god tier, definitely god tier. Now Tyrell was my first attack down that I got that had the higher version of the attack down, and I actually remember I did a 10 pull, and I got Cupidus, Tyrell, and Skull Crusher 3 in a row out of a 10 pull of Ancient Shards back when I started playing in probably May or June of last year, which was amazing. But he's got decreased attack on his A1, decreased defense, and if the target's under decreased attack, it places a sleep as well. And then he's got this depleting of the turn meter and places a stun if it depletes the turn meter too. And then he's based off defense, and he has this universal defense aura. Tyrell's just one of the best heroes in the game, period. He's basically legendary status. I love Tyrell. I use him mostly only in dungeons now just because of my comp. J-Reg is actually a little bit better to use for Ultra Nightmare because of his kit. But that doesn't mean that Tyrell doesn't have a spot. Tyrell is one of the best heroes in the game. Now let's also look here at Sacred Order. Sacred Order is actually a little bit disappointing. They're cool, but there's only really 3 that I would say would be like great. They have a ton of epics actually. I mean, if you look at this faction, it's just loaded up with epics. But Juliana's cool. But the problem with Juliana is she fills turn meter on her A1, so you can't use her in a counterattack team to the maximum ability that you could. When I had her, I did actually use her. She might fit well in like a speed team or something, I feel like. But she places lots of poison and does increase crit rate on herself. And if Romero's on the team... Oh, that's the other one. It's Juliana and Romero, actually, I believe. Yeah, that's it. So, it's funny. That's that's actually the other pairing that is in the 10X is Juliana and Romero. which might be okay, depending on where you use them. But I don't know, kind of underwhelming. Then Juliana has HP burn as well, but poison's here too. So I do, and she has an increased crit rate in the arena. I do think Juliana is awesome, actually. So don't get me wrong there. But I think she is outshined by a lot of other characters at the top levels of clan boss. But if you're still hitting brutal, hard, even nightmare and everything too, Juliana is a great choice. And I used Juliana myself for the longest time. I think she's very, very good. Athar, same kind of category as that, but he can be used in like Dragon and things like that too. And this is this thing with the four hitter that places 5% poisons on the 3-turn cooldown when you book it. The rest of his kit is like okay. I mean, it just steals a buff here, and this places block cooldown skills for 2 turns. It's really the main thing is his poisons, and then increase the ally attack in all battles. So he's fairly similar, I would say. You could probably, the other thing too is you kind of want people that put poisons on their A1s once you get to a certain level, because that's just way more effective. But anyway, they're still cool. They're still good. We're looking at it by faction, so that's that. And then there's actually 2 more. Cardinal is actually very good too. So Cardinal does have a poison under A1, a super low chance, only booked up to a 20% chance. She heals a target ally by 30% of their HP, which you almost wish it was her HP. Places a 60% increased defense buff on herself for 2 turns on a 3-turn cooldown. But this is the cool thing where you get it to a 5-turn cooldown. She revives everyone, heals them by 25% of their HP, and then boosts their turn meter to max, which is pretty cool because depending on where the other team's at, they get to go again. So that part is actually very cool. The other guy we were going to look at is Lightsworn. I do really like Lightsworn. He shines, he's good in Fire Knight. He's good in a whole bunch of different areas. He's good in Clan Boss. You can pretty much use him everywhere except for Spider, right? So 3-hitter that decreases turn meter by 10%, which is really nice. That's great for Fire Knight. Attacks one enemy, places decreased attack buff and a 30% decreased speed buff for 2 turns. On a 3-turn cooldown. Now you're not going to use him for decreased attack and Clan Boss unless you have no other option, just because it's on a 3-turn cooldown. But if you had like a Vizier or something like that, it could be cool. But for that, and then you might be able to slot around a couple different teams with some theory crafting and everything too. And then this is his big deal too, where he has this places an increased defense buff and a revive on death buff on all allies for 2 turns. That is super cool. So those are the 4 that I would say invest in if you get them. Barbarians pretty much don't have a single epic. Well, I guess there's 2. Haikatune's good because she's got the decreased speed, but she's got this turn meter fill that does increase speed on all allies for 2 turns on a 3-turn cooldown. And her AoE is actually kind of nice that it does reduce turn meter by 15%. You can book it to a 4-turn cooldown, and her universal speed aura is really good too. So Haikatune's free, and she's actually very good. Vala is actually pretty good too, but I would say Vala's like, I don't know, she's kind of mid-tier to me. But if you're looking at Faction Wars teams, these are actually good ones to have. 2-hitter that does the shield. No, actually, it's inflicts damage by 15%, increased damage by 15% if they're under a shield buff. That I don't really like. I wish it was if she was under a shield buff. Removes shields from everyone and then does the higher version of decreased defense on a 3-turn cooldown. That's okay. It counters, warlords and like miscreated monsters or even Valkyries and that type of stuff. Places a shield buff on this champion for 3 turns, and then increased defense for 3 turns and fills her turn meter by 50% on a 3-turn cooldown, and then decreases damage by this champion by 15% while under a shield buff. So she is actually pretty good, and she hits very hard. I've done guide on her. I still find her just kind of only really use her in Faction Wars. But it depends on what you have. So those are really the only 2 epics, which is kind of sad, actually. I mean, I guess this one could be okay, but I'll admit I don't know much about her. And she's kind of mad, I feel like, too. Sky Touch Shaman. But those are the only 2 that are like... Barbarian's really got it rough, actually. Ogren Tribe's a different story, though. There's a lot of good epics in here, even though there's a lot of trash epics, too. So this guy, Skull Crusher, he's the only counterattack I've ever pulled. I do now have 3 or 4 of them, but basically I just have a bunch of chickens because I already have a mix maxed out. So he's heal reduction. That you do not want to land, so no accuracy build him. He's got Ally Protect. That's just his big thing. And then the counter attack, and he places Unkillable himself on a 3-turn cooldown. And you only need to land 1 book in him if you get real lucky with that. because all this does is damage. But he only needs 5 books anyway to max out. So he's pretty easy to invest in and decreases the duration of all debuffs on this champion by 1 turn at the start of each turn. So he can actually like do a little bit of a self cleanse, but he won't. His cooldowns won't be like off cooldown. Like so that's why in clan boss you got to make sure you have someone who can clear the stun. And then this is whatever increase ally resistance faction crypts by 45. But Skull Crusher is really good, not just for clan boss and other content too. I used him to get me through so many dungeons, and he was a huge carry for me with the counterattack and everything too, and with the ally protect. Another one who's actually pretty good is Shatterbones. Increase attack on all allies if it crits. AoE that hits 3 times with a 50% chance to decrease the turn meter by 30%. 15% decrease debuff on all enemies for 2 turns and fills the turn meter of all allies by 25% on a 5-turn cooldown. And accuracy in the arena by 70. But he hits pretty hard, and he's actually a pretty good hero. So Shatterbones is worth investing in, but I would say he's not top tier. The other 2 that are definitely top tier for clan boss is Occult Brawler. And Occult Brawler, Frozen Banshee does kind of outperform him now, and she's cheaper to invest in because she's a rare. But Occult Brawler is absolutely worth it still, though. 50% chance of placing 5% poison for 2 turns. The other thing, too, is they're different affinities, so it could be nice to have both built up. But this whole thing, which I'm not going to read, we all know how it works, is actually how he can cycle some extra turns. And then his passive is just amazing, where he places poisons for 4 turns on his passive, which is pretty sick. The other one that's really cool is Maneater. Maneater's main claim to fame is the unkillable comp, but he's got decreased attack on his A1. It does only last for like 1 turn, though, I think. So it's not exactly like the best ideal decreased attack. And then he fully depletes turn meter with his Siphon, so this could be good for like Spider and things like that. He receives damage, then places unkillable buff and block debuffs. It's 5-turn cooldown, and damage received is equal to 5% max HP for each live ally. And then HP in dungeons by 33%. So Maneater does have some other uses in different dungeons, but his main thing is the unkillable comp. But I would say Maneater is actually very useful in several different spots. So let's keep going here. We got Lizardmen. Lizardmen has 1. And it's J-Reg. So he's great, though. He's my attack down. I did actually replace Tyrell with him on my clan boss team because of the way his kit works. So he has decreased attack on his A1. He has this ally protect and increased defense on a 4-turn cooldown. So that's one of the reasons I had him. And then he places continuous heal on his passive on an ally for 1 turn whenever they lose 20% of their max HP in 1 hit. So if you're getting slammed a lot, he can wind up having a bunch of continuous heals on people and the universal HP aura. Plus, with Skull Crusher going back and forth, he can put the ally protect on Skull Crusher and take some of the weight off of Skull Crusher, where Tyrell is not able to do something like that. So I think toward endgame, actually, J-Reg outperforms Skull Crusher because of that. Tyrell in Clan Boss. So next one, Skinwalkers. I do believe they only have 1 as well, and they do. And it's Steel Skull. And he's my poisoner because I have Vizier, which is a very low chance to poison. When you book it, it's only like a 35% chance. But it does have a 2-hitter on his A1 that can place a 5% poison. And then this is removed. He's a cleanse, single target cleanse, but then heals by 40% as well. And then he does increase defense as well and heals by 20% of champion's max HP on a 4-turn cooldown. And increased ally defense of faction crypt. Steel Skull is amazing. All right. Orcs. Orcs actually have terrible legendaries besides Warlord. Not terrible, but like mediocre to like okay. Like, but the actual epics that are part of Orcs, there's a lot of good ones, actually. Like, a lot of good ones. Now, Ultimate Galak is more of a specialist, right? Because of his use in Spider 20. But he's good. He's not top tier because you're only really going to use him there. But Zargala is just amazing. She has a weaken on her A1. She has this that's on a 2-turn cooldown when you book it, which attacks one enemy and instantly activates Crack Armor. And if you build her with a lot of crit rate, crit damage, she's going to kill somebody. And then it'll instivate this AoE that hits 3 times on a 4-turn cooldown and places decreased defense. And then she's got accuracy in all battles by 40. Zargala could pretty much be used almost anywhere. Now, you're not going to use her in like late game clan boss, but you could use her early game. She has a weaken. She has a decreased defense. Well, the decreased defense is not going to work because she can't kill the clan boss in a single hit. But the weaken, I mean, provides a little bit of value, but I wouldn't necessarily use it there. But dungeons and everything too, an arena. Zargala is amazing. Zargala is totally worth investing in. I actually think the last three here are really good. I like Vrask. I think Vrask is actually a really cool hero. And then it attacks one enemy, fills his turn meter by 20% if the attack crits. He attacks one enemy. This is the lamest. Like, I have no idea what the point of this ability is. Just attacks one enemy. But and it's on a cooldown of 3 turns. But this is the cool thing. Heals all allies by 10% of his max HP when he inflicts a crit. So that part's great. Now, people have always said, oh, you don't really want to land books in him. It doesn't actually matter because the way it works when I've played him is as long as he crits either one of these, he's still getting the heals. So it doesn't matter. This does hit a little bit harder. So multiplier is better on here, on his A2. But I think Vrask is a good healer, actually. And he does increase allied defense in dungeons by 33%. Vrask actually helped me get through Ice Golem 20 when I was using him before. So Vrask has a very, very good spot. He's not going to be in an Ice Golem 20 speed team or anything like that. But to get you there, to actually accomplish it, Vrask is a solid as hell choice. The Orc epics are pretty damn good. Next one that I just finally got my masteries done on is Sam Lash Survivor. She is phenomenal. Like, she's got a 2-hitter that does provoke. It is a single target provoke, but it heals by 15% of the damage inflicted if she's under any debuff. That's kind of interesting. An AoE that decreases the duration of all enemy buffs by 1 turn, increases the duration of all ally buffs by 1 turn. On a 3-turn cooldown, that is actually super cool. And then places 50%. This passive is amazing. Ally protect buff on all allies for 2 turn when any ally's HP drops 50%, below 50%, and also places block damage buff on this champion for 1 turn. And then she's got a universal defense aura. So I'm going to work on Sam Lashed, do my own little showcase on her, and I'd like to build her in a couple different comps and everything for Clan Boss. So I'm going to be doing some experimenting and actually kind of showcasing some stuff with Sam Lash Survivor. I think she's actually a great epic. In my opinion, she's a top tier epic. Seer as well is also amazing. Dungeon runs, she's just wonderful for that. She has this A1 that's 15% chance of getting an extra turn, increased crit rate on all allies, and then places weaken on all enemies. And then this removes all buffs from the enemies and your team. So you pair with a whole bunch of buffed up people and other buffs on the teams, and she can just nuke down people with this Karma Burn, which is really cool. So the Orcs actually they have some pretty big trash in here too, like, Torture Helm, and this is the most useless guy ever. I forgot him in my trash video, and I did not mean to. He sucks. He's probably the worst hero. He might be worse than every rare in the game, actually. Anyway, so Demonspawn. Demonspawn's actually got some good choices. Allure's pretty great. She's got this 3-hitter that decreases turn meter by 25% on each hit. AoE that hits twice, that does decreased defense. Sleep if they're under decreased defense. And then it's a 1-hitter, but it has a 30% chance of getting an extra crit, and it ignores 50% of defense. And then accuracy and faction crits. But this ability is really, really good. That's why she's so good for the Fire Knight, too. So Allure is actually really cool. I do like Allure. She's one of the most smoking hot epics out there, even though she's a demon. No, just kidding. But the Nezana is actually really good too. Nezana is cool. Just a plain old AoE on her A1, but the Ally Protect that does a shield buff on her for 2 turns, and the value of the shield is equal to 40% of her HP. And plus she's got decreased attack AoE on a 3-turn cooldown, and then HP and faction crits by 28%. She's not meant to hit hard, but she's meant to actually carry you. So similar to what I said about Vrask, is I feel like Nezana can get you through a lot of things because she's really good to protect you. The other ones here, Padma is really cool. So Padma has this decreased attack on her A1, and all you have to do is crit, and then you can get the decreased attack on everyone, actually. But you can also use her in Clan Boss because of that. An AoE that does decreased accuracy, that's okay, but this is actually cool too. Removes all buffs from the target and places them all on herself. So she steals the buffs on a 3-turn cooldown and puts them all on herself, which that part is pretty cool. So Padma is definitely worth investing in. Umbral Enchantress is actually cool. I wish I still had an Umbral, but whoever we needed to fuse her, whoever we needed to get sacrifice her for a fusion, I've never gotten another one since. So she does damage, increases as current HP decreases. AoE that does block buffs for 3 turns. and then an AoE that has an 80% chance of provoking and unkillable on herself for 2 turns. So that is actually cool. I like the fact that she does kind of this. It's weird how her kit works because she places like a block cooldown skills on her for 5 turns. So, but it actually is pretty cool because it's an AoE provoke, and the way that it works is she's got the unkillable on herself too. She's actually very, very good. Definitely worth investing in. Okay, we only got 4 more to go. So I know this is a long video, but I figured I had a lot to talk about, and I hadn't made a video in a few days, so I figured, what the heck, I'll share it with you guys. Just felt like it. So Undead's actually got quite a lot. Undead's got Gorgorab. Gorgorab's got the speed aura. He's got reviving allies and then heals all of them. Gorgorab is basically a mini arbiter. He does a turn meter fill and places increased attack. And then this is okay, removing of 1 random buff. But Gorgorab is like if you don't have arbiter, you run Gorgorab. Gorgorab saved my ass so many times till I used to run him in arena. He's great. Now, you're not going to use him probably that at the end game, but he's definitely solid as hell. Mid to, even some late game stuff. Seeker is wonderful as well. Provoke on his A1. Turn meter fill, increase attack, grants an extra turn where he does it. And then he does increased defense on all allies for 2 turns when hit with a critical hit. And then defense in the arena by 30%. He is an arena specialist, but Seeker is actually a very good hero too. Catacomb Counselor is super cool too. Increase attack, which is cool. And then the 3-hitter that heals by 20% of the damage inflicted with this, where he brings in 3 random allies out of 4-turn cooldown. So he's like Longbeard, not quite as good as Longbeard, but if you don't have Longbeard, and I don't, and unfortunately I don't have this guy either anymore because another fusion character I had to give up. One that I actually like, this one could be controversial because she doesn't actually do what she's supposed to as far as countering Tormund goes, but Dark Elhain is actually pretty good. And me and Hell Hades did a video on her. Go check it out. It's actually really good. She hits so hard. I feel like she's actually better for clearing dungeon content because of the way she hits. She's not that good in arena, actually. So unfortunately, she's okay, but she doesn't counter Tormund. But the increased attack, and then attacks all enemies, and then 50% chance of doing decreased speed, and then she fills by turn meter by 24% and instantly does this Death's Majesty. And this Death's Majesty hits super hard if you have someone who does decreased defense as well. I run her in like Golem and Minotaur and stuff, and then the hits are like 90 to 100,000 sometimes. So she's actually quite good in that regard. This is the thing everybody was excited about that doesn't really work, and I wish Plarium would change it because she actually just screws herself with Tormund and the team there. It doesn't really do anything against Tormund. It actually triggers his passive more, so she gets frozen over and over again. Anyway, all right, so who else we got here? Okay, Mausoleum Mage. Mausoleum Mage is actually really good. Decreased speed, the block buffs, 3-turn cooldown with increased crit rate, increased defense. And then he does cleanse and heal as well. So that is actually really cool. Zealot's is actually a good hero too. Zealot's shield is pretty good. So to me, if you don't have Miscreated Monster, Zealot's is actually a good choice for his shield. It's nowhere near as good as Miscreated Monster, but Zealot is a good hero to invest in. So now we're going 3 more. Dark Elves. We got Dark Elves here. The epics are going to be basically these 3 epics because I'm looking... Well, no, Spider. Go check out Ali Play's video on that. Ali Plays is a good friend. Love the guy. Check out his stuff. Anyway, so Spider, this decreased attack, that's cool, but it's actually this decreased defense and weaken. Only him, Venus, and Dracomorph have this. This is not an attack, and I didn't even realize that until actually watching Ali Play's video. And it's on a 5-turn cooldown, so he could be used as long as he meets the accuracy test and Spider and things like that, even though he's negative affinity. And that's huge to be able to have this ability there, too. So he's worth investing in if you ask me, but he's not top tier. The other ones, these 3 Void are great, though. Lua is wonderful as far as you can use her in Fire Knight and Spiders, all kind of stuff. Deals 50% of the inflicted damage to all enemies if she crits, so it's an AoE, basically. And then an AoE that hits 3 times. Heals by 2.5% HP on each crit, and then she ignores shield and block damage on this and hits pretty damn hard too. And then Sylar, pretty damn awesome AoE. decreased accuracy AoE, and then decreased speed on all enemies, and decreased turn meter of all enemies by 40% on a 4-turn cooldown. So that is huge. Speed and faction crypts. She's very good. Madame Ceres is like, she's basically legendary too. So she does have fear on her A1. She does the AoE here with 40% chance of stealing one random buff from each target. Places block debuffs on all allies for 2 turns if she steals any buffs. And then True Fear on enemies who have buff stolen. And then this is her decreased attack and decreased defense. She's amazing and places a shield buff on her equal to 10% of their max HP at the start of each turn. I love Madame Sarah. She's one of the best heroes in the game. She's top tier. You put everything you got into her. Another one you want to put everything you got into is actually this guy right here, Miscreated Monster. What's not to love about Miscreated Monster? 2-hitter that he has decreased defense if he places a stun. But this is his big thing. Lightning Storm, 50% chance to stun, but places a shield on all allies equal to 20 for 3 turns as well, equal to 25% of the damage inflicted. That's huge, and his ally protect is huge too. This guy's one of the best heroes in the game. Fear debuff on the attacker whenever they attack if they're under ally protection. And then he's got HP in the arena. Miscreated Monster can actually be used everywhere. And he can be used in Clan Boss as well. So another thing I want to do is actually kind of build a Miscreated Monster that's just pure damage output and then see how he does in Clan Boss. Because this is actually would be cool. Because even if this isn't going to be like an AoE in Clan Boss, a single target. But if it does a lot of damage, it can pump out a lot of shield, which is really cool because it's a 3-turn shield on a 3-turn cooldown. And it will hit really, really hard. So you're just purely going to build them for damage to do that. But I really kind of want to do that. Sinesh is really good. Sinesh is going to be part of the 10x. Sinesh has AoE that will place an extra hit on enemies with less than 50% HP. And then she puts the target skills on cooldown, heals the ally with the lowest HP by 25%, equalizes HP. So if someone has max HP, she takes their HP and makes everyone have max HP, which is really cool. And ally HP and faction crypts by 31%. There's a lot of really good epics in this faction actually too. Doom Priest is great, mainly for this. Heals allies by 7.5% of their HP and removes 1 random debuff from all of them at the start of their turn. So she does a passive cleanse on every single turn, which that's great in Clan Boss. Late game, a lot of people use her. Sepulchre Sentinel, her decreased attack, increased defense, block debuffs on a 4-turn cooldown. So she actually does both these things, which are huge, and then has a 25% chance of completely blocking incoming damage when an ally is attacked. It occurs once per turn, and then defense in all battles. So she's great. Again, another hero I had to sacrifice an infusion that I've never gotten again. Skullcrown. Skullcrown's top tier. AoE that places an extra hit if they have more than 50% HP. AoE that does weaken. Places unkillable if she loses too much HP. And then revives with 30% HP when Sinesh is on the team. And speed in the arena by 23%. And Skullcrown hits insanely hard. Golden Reaper's actually good too. Golden Reaper, 30% chance of decreased cooldown of 1 random ally skills by 1 turn. AoE that does decreased attack. And decreases turn meter by 20% if they're not under decreased attack. And then 30% increased speed of all allies for 2 turns and boost their turn meter by 20. And then ally accuracy and faction crypts. Pretty cool. So I believe we only got one more. We got Dwarves. And in Dwarves, there are actually 3 out of the 5 that are really good. Grizzled Jarl, who has this, you don't want the heal reduction if you're using him in Clan Boss, but just a 1-hitter. But he's one of the best for this block debuffs and increased defense. There's a 3-turn cooldown. And then he does have AoE decreased attack. So he's very, very useful in a lot of different areas of the game too. Another big carry is Rearguard Sergeant. Was decreased defense on our A1, decreased attack on our A2, ally protect and continuous heal on her A3 on a 3-turn cooldown, and then also force ally HP in all battles by 33%. And the last one, who I've done a guide on, and I really love, is Gala Longbraids. She's got a 2-hitter that ignores 30% of the target's defense, places a shield on her for 2 turns equal to 20% of the damage. And then she does this one that ignores 50% of the damage when under a shield buff. And then she heals by 50% of the damage and places a shield buff on the cheek. If she does excess damage, she gets more shield. And then 3-hitter here that ignores 25% of the defense and grants an extra turn if the champion has full HP after using a skill. Her and Relentless is pretty cool. In the guide I did, she was popping off hits for like 120k and things like that, which was pretty fun. And then ally attack in all battles by 25%. So if you made it this far, thank you so much. I know this was a very long video, and I don't usually make these long videos, but I figured I hadn't done one in a while, and I really wanted to talk and say thank you very much. Please hit me up on Discord so we can help fill this clan up. If you're looking to hit Ultra Nightmare, if you're looking to even hit Nightmare too, I want any one of our Nightmare hitters to be able to grow to Ultra Nightmare, because ideally what this clan will be is 30 people who can hit Ultra Nightmare and do it as much as they want, because we are going to be able to have unkillable clan boss here in the next few days. So with that being said, please subscribe to the channel. Please like this video. I'll be back soon with another Raid Shadow Legends video. Cheers.